Are you ever going to leave, Clara? Mark sneered, reclining on the sofa. You heard him, Isabel added, curling her lips into a cruel smile. This house is too small for 3 adults, too small. I replied evenly, and yet somehow, you both managed to fit your affair in it. They smirked in unison. You've got until tonight, Mark said, or we toss you out ourselves. I'll leave, I agreed, smirking back. But I promise you'll regret it. Earlier that day had started as any other. I jumped on a Zoom call, sending off designs to a client. I had just wrapped up the presentation and closed my laptop when I heard the garage door open. Mark was home early again. I sighed and went downstairs, my mind already swirling with the questions that had plagued me for weeks. What's up with you coming home in the middle of the day so often? I asked, opening the fridge to prepare lunch. Work's changed, Mark said curtly, not meeting my eyes. Taking on a new project with Isabel, it's demanding. I paused, gripping a butter knife more tightly than necessary. Isabel, huh? You two seem to get along well. Mark shrugged. She's ambitious, knows what she wants. I decided that today would be different. I'd find my proof. I waited until he left for another urgent meeting and went directly to his study. I rifled through his desk drawers, my fingers trembling, until I found what I was looking for. There it was, a receipt for 2 at that swanky restaurant he claimed he could never afford to take me to, and another, a hotel receipt, room for 2, also in Isabel's name. Just as I put the papers back, I heard the front door open. Mark's voice, loud and carefree, floated through the hallway. My heart raced. I barely had time to hide the evidence when they walked in. Well, look who's curious, Isabel purred, leaning against the doorframe. Her presence in my home was like a cold slap to my face. What's the meaning of this? I snapped, holding up the receipts. Oh, those, Mark said nonchalantly. Isabel's moving in. There's no room for you anymore, Clara. My mind swirled, emotions a chaotic storm, but I locked them down immediately. I set down the receipts carefully on the desk and squared my shoulders. You both can have your fun, I said calmly, stepping forward. But let me assure you, it's going to cost you. Like we care? Isabel laughed, linking arms with Mark. There's the door. I walked out without another word. The weight of the betrayal tried to anchor me down, but I wouldn't give them the satisfaction. Through sheer will, I made it up to the bedroom. I pulled out an old suitcase and began to pack. My phone buzzed. It was Sophia, my daughter, checking in from college. I stared at her message for a beat, tears threatening to spill. I typed back briskly, "Everything's fine. See you soon." I picked up the phone again, but this time to make a call that would set my new plan in motion. Getting a junk removal service lined up for tomorrow without raising suspicion was crucial. As I moved through the house, removing traces of my life piece by piece, a realization settled in my bones. I wasn't just packing up my things, I was clearing space for something new, something stronger. Think she'll go quietly? I overheard Isabel ask Mark downstairs. She'll be gone, Mark assured her. She knows better. I glanced at the framed family picture on the hallway table, the 3 of us smiling at a happier time. Oh, how wrong he was. With one last look, I turned off the light and shut the door behind me, resolute. Their little game had just begun. The next morning, I woke up early and started packing my things discreetly. I knew Mark and Isabel would be sleeping in, probably enjoying their little victory. My hands moved quickly but quietly. Drawer by drawer, I filled my suitcase with necessities. I took one last look around our room. Mark's scent still lingered on the bedsheets. I shook my head, dismissing the sentiment. It was time to move on. My phone buzzed and I answered quietly. Yes, I need the junk removal service today, as soon as possible. Got it, ma'am, the voice on the other end confirmed. We'll be there in an hour. I headed to the kitchen to gather more things. As I wrapped up, I heard footsteps on the staircase. Mark walked in, rubbing his eyes. He looked mildly surprised to see me. "You still here?" he asked, a hint of annoyance creeping into his voice. "Yes, but not for long," I replied coolly, continuing to pack a box. "The removal service will be here soon." He snorted. "Trying to make this dramatic, aren't you?" "Just ensuring I don't leave anything behind," I said, not bothering to look at him. He returned upstairs, presumably to inform Isabel. I knew they wouldn't cause a scene while the removal crew was here. Moments later, a knock at the door announced their arrival. "Morning, ma'am. What needs to go?" the lead guy asked, glancing around. "Everything," I replied, steady. "Every last piece that isn't nailed down." The team got to work, moving swiftly through the house. I busied myself with smaller items, directing them now and then. From the corner of my eye, I saw Sophia's photo on the mantel. Her bright smile gave me strength. I tucked the photo safely into my handbag. One of the team members gave me a sympathetic look. I didn't need their pity. I needed to stay focused. Mark and Isabel eventually parked themselves on the couch, watching the proceedings like hawks. Isabel smirked at me. "Feels good to downsize, doesn't it?" she taunted. I met her gaze calmly. "We'll see who downsizes in the end," I replied, words laced with subtle promise. Once most of my belongings were packed up, I took a moment to send a message to Sophia, updating her indirectly. Later that afternoon, after everything was loaded up, I left the house with a final glance. "See you around," I said to Mark and Isabel. Their laughter followed me to the driveway, but it didn't shake me. At the hotel where I booked a room, I set my bags down and dialed my lawyer, Mr. Smith. "It's Clara Taylor. I'd like to discuss my rights and next steps." "Of course, Clara. Let's set up a meeting tomorrow," he replied. I hung up and let out a breath. This wasn't going to be easy, but it was necessary. Next, I dialed Sophia. Her voice on the other end brought immediate comfort. "Hey, Mom. You okay?" "I'm fine, sweetie. Just moving into a hotel for a while. I didn't want to worry you before your exams." "Don't worry about me," Sophia assured. "We'll get through this." As we talked, I felt a surge of determination. Mark and Isabel thought they had me cornered, but they underestimated my resolve. With Sophia's support and a few strategic moves, I knew they'd soon realize their mistake. Once off the call, I laid out a new plan. Tomorrow, I'd consult the lawyer, start gathering evidence, and prepare for what was to come. Tonight, however, was for rest and regrouping. The real battle would begin soon enough. The following morning, I met with Mr. Smith. He was a sharp, seasoned lawyer who immediately understood the complexity of my situation. "Good to see you, Clara. Let's go over your options," he started, spreading out some paperwork. "I want to make sure I'm protected and that Mark and Isabel face consequences for what they've done," I said firmly. "We can start with a formal separation agreement to secure your rights and then consider divorce. Additionally, if you have any evidence of infidelity or financial misconduct, it will strengthen your case," Mr. Smith explained. I nodded. "I have some receipts and bank statements. I also suspect there's more if I dig deeper into his work files." He leaned forward, interested. "That could be very useful. Document everything and make copies. We need to build a solid case." Leaving his office, I felt more empowered, but the work was just beginning. First, I called Sophia. "Hey, Mom, how did it go?" she asked. "Good, we have a plan. Can you check Dad's old laptop? He might have left something incriminating." "Sure, I'll check tonight," Sophia agreed. "Stay strong, Mom." I headed to a local cafe to start organizing the financial documents. The more I examined them, the clearer it became that Mark had been hiding money, a lot of it. I noted everything down, preparing for what was to come. Later that evening, Sophia called me back, sounding excited. "Mom, I found something. Dad's been transferring large sums to an account I've never seen before. Must be offshore." "Great work, Sophia," I said, a smile spreading across my face. "We'll include that in our evidence." We arranged to meet the next day to go over everything she had found. That night, I barely slept, my mind racing with the possibilities. Early the next morning, I reached out to a moving company to help Sophia pack up her things from the house. As they arrived at the old house, Mark stormed out, his face flushed with anger. "What is all this?" he demanded, glaring at Sophia and the movers. "Just moving out what belongs to Mom and me," Sophia replied calmly. "There's no place for our things here anymore, right?" Mark fumed. "You'll regret this." "Mark, I think you're the one who'll regret everything," she shot back, not backing down. I watched from a distance, proud of her strength. Later, Sophia met me at the hotel with her findings. "Look at this," she said, handing me printouts. "Dad's been funneling money through fake accounts and Isabel's been in on it." I scanned the documents, my resolve hardening. This was exactly what we needed. "Excellent work, Sophia. We'll hand these over to Mr. Smith first thing tomorrow." As we packed up the documents, I received a furious call from Mark. "You took the furniture? I can't even sit down in my own house." I let him rant before replying. "Should have thought of that before you betrayed me, Mark. You'll be hearing from my lawyer soon." He spat and hung up. Sophia and I exchanged looks, both of us knowing we were just getting started. Tomorrow, I'd consult with Mr. Smith about the financial inconsistencies and prepare our next move. By evening, we had moved into a nearby hotel, ready to plan our strategy further. Sophia stayed close, working with me to compile everything we needed. The calm before the storm allowed us to strengthen our bond and sharpen our focus. As we settled in for the night, Sophia turned to me with a determined look. "We'll make them pay, Mom. They won't know what hit them." I nodded, feeling a fierce determination. Mark and Isabel thought they could walk all over us, but they'd soon learn the cost of betrayal. It was time to hit them where it hurt the most. The next morning, I woke up early to meet with Mr. Smith. The evidence Sophia had found was pivotal. We presented everything, the financial transfers, the offshore account, and Isabel's involvement. Mr. Smith reviewed the documents with a steely expression. "This is substantial, Clara. We'll leverage this information to our advantage." "Good. I want Mark and Isabel to feel the full weight of their actions," I replied, my voice unwavering. Back at the hotel, Sophia and I continued plotting. Then my phone rang. It was Mark, and he sounded panicked. "What did you do with the furniture, Clara?" he demanded. "Missing a comfy seat, Mark? How are all your new girlfriends doing?" "I guess you know damn well we can't replace those things easily," he growled. "Maybe we can strike a deal," I said, leaning into the opportunity. "You wire $5,000 to my account, and I'll tell you where your precious chairs are." I'll think about it," he stammered before hanging up. "That got him rattled," Sophia noted with a grin. I nodded. "It's just the beginning. We'll hit them gradually." The following days were crucial. Mark, foolishly desperate to get his things back, transferred the money, and I redirected it to cover the moving expenses. With that part of the dealings in motion, I sought the next strategic strike. I called Mark again. "Thought about my offer?" "All right," he said begrudgingly. "Send them back, but this better be everything." "Patience," I replied. "Check your email for the address." After hanging up, I went back to compiling the last of our evidence, double-checking all the details, ready to send it off. I made an anonymous email and attached the files for Mark's boss at work. "Mr. Jones will have a field day with this," I muttered, hitting send. Within hours, chaos erupted. Mark called back, voice frantic. "Clara, my boss wants to see me. What did you do?" "Oh, just ensured the right people got the right information," I replied coolly. "I made sure your reckless actions get the attention they deserve." "You're playing with fire," he shouted. "No, Mark, I'm controlling the blaze you started," I countered before ending the call. By the next morning, Mr. Jones contacted me. He wanted to discuss the evidence and potential repercussions. I agreed to meet him at his office with Mr. Smith. As we entered the office, Mr. Jones greeted us solemnly. "Mrs. Taylor, thank you for coming. I'm disturbed by what I've reviewed." I felt it was necessary for you to know what's been happening, I affirmed. Mr. Smith laid out the details. Mark and Isabel manipulated company finance and violated numerous policies. We trust you understand the gravity. Mr. Jones nodded. We'll conduct our investigation, but this looks serious. There will be severe consequences for both parties. Leaving the office, I felt a surge of satisfaction. We were closer to delivering justice. Sophia hugged me, sharing the triumph. What's our next step? She asked, eyes bright with anticipation. Now, we let the dominoes fall, I said confidently, and prepare for the fallout. Later that day, I received another frantic call from Mark. What did you tell my boss? They've suspended me pending investigation. Just the truth, I answered briskly. You should have thought about the consequences. You're going to regret this, Clara, he threatened. I smiled, calm and composed. No, Mark, this is just the beginning. You'll see. Hanging up, I turned to Sophia. Get ready for the next phase. We've only just begun. With our plan in motion and the stakes growing higher, I knew Mark and Isabel were on the brink of facing what they had long evaded: accountability. Together, Sophia and I had turned the tide, and now it was time to see how far we could go. A week later, I received an urgent call from Mr. Jones. Mrs. Taylor, can you come into the office today? We need to discuss your findings in detail, he said. Of course, I'll be there shortly, I replied, already gathering the remaining evidence I'd planned to share. Sophia decided to come with me, eager to see justice in action. As we entered the building, I felt a mix of nerves and determination. This was the tipping point. Mr. Jones met us at the front, leading us into a conference room where a few other stern-faced executives waited. Thank you for coming, he began. We've reviewed the initial evidence, but we need further clarification. I handed over the detailed documents, financial transfers, and incriminating emails. Mr. Smith, who accompanied us, explained. Mark and Isabel have been involved in fraudulent activities, transferring company funds and covering their tracks poorly. The offshore accounts are just the beginning. One executive shook his head. This is beyond unacceptable. Rest assured, Mrs. Taylor, there will be severe repercussions. Sophia leaned in, whispering, They won't get away with this. As we laid out the final pieces, the executives grew more animated. This has far-reaching implications, Mr. Jones said. We need to suspend Mark and Isabel immediately and launch a full investigation. Leaving the office, I felt a heavy weight lift. We were finally turning the tide. Later that afternoon, Mark called, desperate. They suspended me, Clara. They're investigating everything. You need to fix this, he pleaded. I won't fix your mess, Mark, I replied coldly. You brought this on yourself. Isabel was on the line minutes later. You treacherous... Do you know what you've done? Yes, Isabel. I made sure you face the consequences of your actions, I said calmly. You'll regret this, she threatened before hanging up. Sophia and I spent the rest of the day finalizing our legal steps, ensuring our case was airtight. The next morning, news broke about Mark and Isabel's suspension. Their dirty laundry was now public, and the fallout was immediate. We went to the office one more time to finalize our statements. Mark and Isabel were there, looking defeated. Mark tried one last-ditch effort. Clara, let's talk this through. We can find a way to settle this quietly, he said, attempting to sound reasonable. I shook my head. There's no quiet way out of this, Mark. You've lost all respect and integrity. Mr. Jones stepped in. Mr. Taylor, Miss Phillips, the evidence is insurmountable. The company is pressing charges and there will be civil suits as well. Mark turned on Isabel, desperation in his eyes. This is all your fault. You pushed for this. Me? You were in it up to your neck, Isabel snapped back, her voice shrill. Their bickering filled the room, each trying to deflect blame. It was a symphony of desperation and guilt. Finally, I faced them both. Both of you underestimated me. thinking I'd just disappear quietly. But you gave me the fire I needed. Leaving that office, I felt Sophia's hand in mine, both of us stronger, united. We had faced them down and come out victorious. That night, we celebrated quietly, knowing the battle wasn't fully over, but recognizing the milestone we had reached. Over dinner, Sophia looked at me, her eyes shining with admiration. You did it, Mom. You stood your ground, and they paid for it. We did it, I corrected, raising my glass. Together, from that day forward, our focus shifted to rebuilding our lives, our home. Mark and Isabel's fight for legal survival would continue, but we had already won the greatest victory, reclaiming our dignity and strength. Mark and Isabel were summoned to the company's headquarters the next day. Word of their misdemeanors had spread, and the atmosphere was thick with tension. I decided to witness the spectacle in person. Sophia came with me, both of us blending into the background of the bustling corporate environment. We watched as Mark and Isabel were escorted into a large conference room where Mr. Jones and several other executives awaited them. The room fell silent as the door shut behind us. Mr. Jones stood, a stack of papers in his hand. Mark, Isabel, the evidence against you is overwhelming. Embezzlement, fraud, and misappropriation of funds. We've begun a full audit, and preliminary findings are damning. Mark's face flushed. This is absurd. I demand to speak to someone higher up. There's no higher up for you, Mr. Jones said firmly. You've betrayed this company and its employees. Isabel tried to interject, her voice trembling. We can explain. Save it. Another executive cut in, his voice icy. We're pressing charges, and we will ensure you are held accountable to the fullest extent. Mark turned to Isabel, his eyes wild. You idiot, you were supposed to keep those records clean. I did everything you asked. Isabel snapped back. If you hadn't been so greedy. Their argument spiraled, loud enough to echo through the halls. Sophia and I exchanged glances, both of us grimly satisfied watching their public meltdown. Another executive cleared his throat. Enough. You both will be escorted out and served with notice of termination and legal action. Mark's demeanor shifted, desperation taking over. Please, there must be something we can do to fix this. Mr. Jones's expression softened for a fraction of a second, but then he steeled himself. The time for fixing things is long past. You're a liability to this company and a disgrace to your positions. As Mark and Isabel were led out, heads hanging low, Sophia and I quietly exited the building. Outside, she turned to me, her eyes glowing with satisfaction. That was tense, she said. Yes, but it was necessary, I replied. They needed to face the consequences. We didn't have much time to reflect before the next phase of our plan kicked into gear. I coordinated with Mr. Smith to finalize the divorce papers and ensure all our claims were solid. The story leaked to the press, and Mark and Isabel's personal lives started to unravel. Reporters camped outside their homes, seeking comments on the scandal. Their reputations sank further with each passing day. Back at the hotel, Sophia and I were inundated with calls from old friends and acquaintances, expressing their shock and support. It was heartening to know we were not alone in this. One evening, Sophia looked up from her laptop. Mom, have you seen this? She showed me a news article detailing Isabel's involvement in another company's scandal years ago, hinting at a pattern of unethical behavior. This will bury her, I said, forwarding the article to Mr. Jones. Every skeleton in their closets will come out now. That night, Mark called again, but this time his voice was broken. Clara, please, can we talk? There's nothing left to talk about, I said firmly. You made your choices, now live with them. The line went dead, and I felt an overwhelming sense of closure. Sophia wrapped her arm around me. We did it, Mom. They're facing everything they deserve. Yes, we did, I agreed, hugging her tightly. And it's finally over. As we prepared to move back into our new home, There was a sense of renewed hope and strength between us. Mark and Isabel would continue to unravel in the public eye, but Sophia and I were moving forward, stronger and undeniably triumphant. The news hit like a tidal wave. Mark and Isabel were officially arrested for embezzlement and fraud. Their mugshots splashed across the evening news, a stark contrast to the polished personas they'd flaunted. Sophia and I watched the broadcast from our new living room, a sense of vindication washing over us. "They're actually going to jail," Sophia murmured, almost in disbelief. "Justice has a way of catching up," I replied, feeling the weight of our struggle lifting. The following day, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Mark's assets being seized. A team of officials carted out electronics, valuable artworks, even his beloved car. The neighbor across the street watched, eyes wide with curiosity. "This is just the beginning," one of the officers remarked to me. "There's a lot more to account for." I nodded, stepping back inside. Sophia looked up from her studies and smiled, her eyes bright with satisfaction. "Mom, did you see that? They took the car." "I saw, sweetheart. It's all falling apart for them," I said, sitting beside her. A week later, we headed to the courtroom for the preliminary hearing. Mark and Isabel sat at the defense table, looking disheveled and hollow-eyed. Their lawyers whispered urgent instructions, but the damage was already done. Mr. Smith sat beside me, exuding calm confidence. "This will be swift. They don't have a leg to stand on," he assured. The judge read out the charges, detailing every egregious crime. As the list grew longer, Mark fidgeted, shooting desperate glances at Isabel. Sophia squeezed my hand, offering silent support. The prosecutor presented our evidence, each piece more damning than the last. When they showed the financial transfers to the offshore account, the courtroom buzzed with disbelief. Mark finally broke. "It was all Isabel's idea," he shouted, pointing a trembling finger. "She orchestrated everything." "Liar, you told me to do it," Isabel shrieked back, her face contorted with rage. The judge banged his gavel. "Order in the court," he commanded, turning to address both. "Your actions have consequences. Prepare for the full force of the law." Leaving the courthouse, Sophia and I felt an incredible sense of liberation. This was the turning point, their reality of facing the repercussions of their heinous actions. In the ensuing weeks, Mark and Isabel were convicted, their sentences making headlines. The once powerful duo was now the cautionary tale of our community. Sophia and I focused on rebuilding our lives. The house felt lighter, filled with new memories and hopes. One evening over dinner, Sophia looked at me with a contented smile. "We've come a long way, Mom. I'm proud of us," she said. "I'm proud of you too, Sophia. You've been my rock through all this," I replied, my heart swelling with gratitude. As our lives began to stabilize, I received a surprising message from Olivia, an old college friend who had heard about my ordeal. She invited me for coffee. It had been years since I'd seen her, and the idea of reconnecting felt like a new beginning. The cafe meeting was delightful. We laughed, reminisced, and for the first time in a long while, I felt the joy of genuine friendship without the shadow of betrayal over us. Returning home, Sophia greeted me warmly. "How was it?" "Wonderful," I said, hugging her. "We're finally moving forward." Mark and Isabel's trials were nearing their end, and the severe sentences they received cemented their fates as examples of consequences catching up with reckless actions. Watching the news report, Sophia whispered, "They got what they deserved." "Yes, they did. And we got our peace back," I affirmed, without regret. As we looked ahead, our bond stronger than ever, a sense of complete closure enveloped us. The storm had passed, leaving us clear skies and the promise of brighter days. With Mark and Isabel behind bars, life took on a new rhythm. Sophia and I settled comfortably into our new home. Mornings were no longer filled with dread, but with the promise of new beginnings. I found solace in my work as a graphic designer, delving into projects with renewed enthusiasm. One sunny morning, as I sipped coffee on the porch, Sophia joined me with her laptop. "Mom, I've been thinking, how about we start a small business together? We could combine our skills, your design expertise, and my marketing knowledge." I looked at her, surprised but excited. "That's a great idea, Sophia. We could create something meaningful, something ours." She beamed. "Let's brainstorm tonight. I have so many ideas." That evening turned into a planning session filled with laughter and creativity. We mapped out our venture, imagining a future untainted by past betrayals. The name we chose, Resilient Designs, felt appropriate, encapsulating our journey and newfound strength. Days turned to weeks, and our vision slowly materialized. We launched our business, received our first clients, and felt a growing sense of accomplishment. Every new project was a step forward, a testament to our resilience. One evening, a familiar name flashed on my phone. Picking it up, I heard an all-too-familiar panicked voice. "Clara," Isabel sobbed. "Please, you have to help me." "What do you think you're doing calling me?" I replied, anger bubbling. "Please, I'm scared. Mark's manipulating everyone, turning everyone against me," she cried. I took a deep breath, reminding myself how deep her betrayals ran. "You made your choices, Isabel. Now live with the consequences." She begged and pleaded, but my resolve remained firm. Ending the call, I felt a weight lift. Sophia walked in, sensing the tension. "Who was that?" she asked. "Isabel," I said simply, and I let her know she's on her own. She needs to face the reality she created. Sophia nodded, hugging me. "Good, she deserves it." Our business continued to grow, each success a reminder of how far we had come. We balanced work and life, cherishing the moments we spent together. One afternoon, in between client meetings, Sophia brought up a topic I hadn't considered in years. "Mom, have you thought about dating again?" she asked gently. I laughed. "Not really. It's been a long time, but who knows, maybe someday." Sophia smiled. "You deserve happiness, Mom. Don't close off the possibility." Her words stayed with me. A few weeks later, I decided to take a small step forward. I reconnected with Olivia, the old college friend I had coffee with, and found joy in our newfound friendship. Slowly, the idea of dating began to feel less daunting. One evening, Sophia set up an online profile for me, giggling as she chose pictures. "Trust me, Mom, you're going to have a great time." Reluctantly, I agreed. Soon, messages trickled in, and I found myself laughing at silly conversations with strangers who might become friends or more. As my life expanded, so did Resilient Designs. We hired a small team, moved into a cozy little office, and watched our dreams flourish. Our clients appreciated our work, often commenting on the passion and love we brought to each project. One day, as Sophia and I closed up the office, she turned to me, her eyes filled with pride. "Mom, we did it. We really turned everything around." "Yes, we did," I said, embracing her, "and the best part is, we did it together." Walking home, we felt a deep sense of contentment. The shadows of the past had faded, replaced by the light of our new beginnings. Mark and Isabel's trials concluded with devastating sentences for both, their names forever tarnished. We had not only reclaimed our lives, but redefined them. Each step forward was a testament to our strength, proving that even amid life's worst storms, we could emerge stronger, wiser, and ready to embrace whatever came next.